Brittany McKinley. I am a student at Salisbury University studying social work. I have not applied to the program yet, but will in the fall. I switched my major from education to social work. The contribution figure I will be talking about is A. Philip Randolph. A. Philip Randolph was born Asa Philip Randolph on April 15, 1889, in Crescent City, Florida. He was the second son of James Randolph, a Methodist minister, and his wife Elizabeth, who both were supporters of equal rights for African Americans and general human rights. A. Philip Randolph studied at the Cookman Institute, which was the first institute of higher education for blacks in the country. After graduating from Cookman, he studied English literature and sociology at City College, as well as having a variety of jobs such as an elevator operator, a porter, and a waiter. A. Philip Randolph founded the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters in 1925. Serving as its president, he sought to achieve the union's official inclusion in the American Federation of Labor. Philip won a membership in the AFL in 1937, making the BSCP the first African American union in the United States. Randolph organized two March on Washington movements, one in 1941, which pressured President Franklin D. Roosevelt to issue Executive Order 8802, which banned discrimination in defense industries, and in 1963, which aimed at obtaining government sponsorship of black jobs. The political views that Randolph proposed were grown in the era of World War I, where he tried to unionize African American shipyard workers and elevator operators, as well as being arrested for violating the Espionage Act, which is interfering with recircuiting of troops. In 1912, Randolph founded the Brotherhood of Labor, which organized black workers, with his colleague Chandler Owen, who was a law student at Columbia University, who shared Randolph's political views. Working as a waiter on a coastal steamship, Randolph rallied against their poor living conditions. After World War II, Randolph organized the League for Nonviolent Civil Disobedience Against Military Segregation movement, which pressured President Harry S. Truman in 1948 to pass an executive order which banned racial segregation in the U.S. Armed Forces. Randolph was a proud supporter of the Bolshevik Revolution, which was made up of Bolshevik workers that overtook the government. In the 1920s, Randolph became an anti-communist because he felt the CP became a secretive organization that would rather capture groups than work with groups. In 1963, Randolph was the organizer for the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, where he shared the podium with Martin Luther King Jr., who gave his I Have a Dream speech. After the march, they met with President John F. Kennedy to discuss a push to strengthen the Civil Rights Bill. In 1965, at a White House conference, Randolph suggested a poverty elimination program called Freedom Budget for All Americans, which suggested to spend billions of federal money to provide jobs and basic welfare to all citizens of the United States of America. After the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters won an election and a contract with a railroad in 1937, Randolph headed a new National Negro Congress, which was an umbrella mass movement of organizations where he resigned in 1940, believing the group was controlled by communists. In the 1920s, Randolph ran for the state comptroller of New York for the Socialist Party, but was unsuccessful, losing by 1,000 votes in the final tally. His unsuccessful office run convinced him that unions would be the best way for African Americans to improve their lives. In 1917, during World War I, Randolph and his colleague Chandler Owen founded the magazine The Messenger, which supported socialism as well as the arrival of the new crowd Negro. The magazine criticized President Woodrow Wilson, Booker T. Washington, and Webb Du Bois because of their political views. In 1959, Randolph founded the Negro American Labor Council to continue to protest against the racial prejudice found in the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, to the surprise of the Union leader George Meany, who was against the council's formation. In 1964, Randolph was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is a medal given to civilians for their contribution to the United States of America, by President Lyndon B. Johnson for his efforts towards the civil rights movement. After receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1964, Randolph founded the A. Philip Randolph Institute, which was an organization that focused on studying poverty as well as supported a variety of demonstrations, and was co-founded by Bernard Rustin, who was Randolph's mentee. While suffering from high blood pressure and a heart condition, Randolph retired from being president of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters in 1968, after 40 years of office. After being assaulted by 3 assailants, he moved to New York City's Chelsea neighborhood, where he retired from the public. After Randolph moved to Chelsea, he began to write his autobiography, but was forced to stop because his health became worse. Randolph died on May 16, 1979, at the age of 90 in his bed at his home in New York City. He was cremated and his ashes were given to the A. Philip Randolph Institute. Here is the list of the references that I used to complete my PowerPoint. I hope you enjoyed learning about A. Philip Randolph and the many contributions he made to the political society and the work he has done for the rights of African Americans in the United States of America.